Happy New Year, everyone. New year, new video. Again, we're going to talk about the progress on the animation side of things, or storyboarding if you're familiar with XAML, and how that's coming along within the theme creator. So I'll fire up the creator and I'll click on filters view. And we can see an object rotating and obviously moving around the red portion or the red section of this view. And what's interesting to note here is even when I resize the window, obviously objects are rescaled, resized. I mean, that's old. That's been there from day one. But the path that it takes, the coordinates that the object moves to, has also been rescaled as well. So that's highly useful for anyone performing storyboards, actually, or animations, where they don't have to guess where these objects are going to move to or from, depending on the target resolution of other users that are running these published themes. So basically there's no guesswork required anymore. This does all the hard work for you. All right, so there you go, it's reset on its path. Alright, I'll put it in full screen and I'll go into edit view, and you get an information notification. The editor will not display animations that move UI elements left, right, up or down. That's because you want those UI elements to remain in one place so that you can edit them. You can move them around, resize them. You don't want to go running around the screen trying to catch them and change their properties. So all animation types, with the exception of movement on the X and Y axes, are enabled, and obviously the movement on the X and Y, those are disabled while you're in the editor. And then by hitting save or discard and returning to the previous main window, you see the preview, and like you saw earlier, this object, you can see it moving around the screen. All right. So we'll just take a quick look at the animation sequence put together for this real quick. It starts right off the bat with what is this, 10 rotations clockwise. It's going to last 8 seconds, which happens to be the full length of the movement sequence. This one starts at 6 with a duration of 2, so that's 8 seconds. So yes, that one rotation event here will last for the full duration of the movement of move down, move right, move up, move left. Okay. So let's have a look at some of the movement instructions real quick. The first one I have here is, I just said, wherever you are, move back to your defined location, and that's on the x-axis, move left or right, and then the same is true for the y-axis, move up or down. Wherever you are, I want you to go back to your defined location. Defined location is where you've defined it on screen. I've placed it here. I'm open to calling that something else, like define placement or whatever. But anyway, I come up with define location. If somebody thinks it should be called something other than that, please drop me a note, and I'll see if I agree. And if I do agree, then I'll change it. So, but the first true movement in its movement path here is to move down, and I said, okay, so I want to make a movement on the y-axis. I want to go from the define location, which is here, and I want to go to this new location, which is a y coordinate of 950. I have a button here at the moment. It doesn't do anything, but the idea is I hit this and you'll have another focus rectangle that you can now move up and down on the y-axis. So you can easily just place that same size rectangle, well, a copy of, and that way you can gauge where you want it to go on its target path, visually, instead of just trying to guess by keying in numbers. Okay. The numbers are there so that you can fine tune. That way you don't have to, kind of gauge up and down by pixel. You can just change it here. But this will get you kind of closer to where you want it to be visually when I put that code in. All right. Let's see. And again, this just moves around its predetermined path. And then, as you can see here, I've clicked on repeat. So it'll just keep going around the screen indefinitely. Okay. So that's that particular view. Now I'm going to apologize up front for the next view. I have got a fair number of animation sequences defined, and we can go through these one by one. Let me just minimize the window a little bit, because I just realized that you can't see the time UI element. I think you can see that now. So let me just do this again. I'm going to go from the filter view to the text games view. All right. So we'll start with the top two UI elements, date and time. Okay. So they slide in from the left to the right and the right to the left, respectively. So let me click on the date. This is just a very simple move, and I'm moving it from off screen left to the defined location. So it's moving right, starting off screen. Okay, and it's going to take this amount of time to travel that path. Okay. And can't really see it because it's behind my video, but time does the same, but the opposite direction. So it's starting from off-screen right-hand side, moving left to the defined location. Okay, and it takes this amount of time to travel that distance. Now, title there's a few extra steps in here. This travels from the top of the off screen to its defined location, and it does it rather quickly. And then what it will do in pairs, because I've set the start time to be the same, the scale width and scale height, it goes from 100 to double. So 100% to 200% in this amount of time. So you see that gradual transition from 100% size to 200% size. And then once it reaches, so the duration on that is 0.25. So 1.25 is when it completes. As soon as it completes, it shrinks from 200% to 100%, so it goes back to its normal size. Okay. Now, now in the bottom right, and I can just leave it here for now, but in the bottom right, it's alternating between the front cover of the game to the back cover, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right, so this is quite interesting. This is actually made up of two images. the box art or the box front and the box back, okay, each with their own animation sequence. In this case I'm using opacity as the animation type. So for box art I'm starting at 0.5, is that right? Or 5, I'm sorry, I'm starting at 5 seconds, and I'm basically fading out the image, okay? So it's going from an opacity of 100%, you know, fully visible, to totally transparent, totally invisible, okay? And then X number of seconds later, I'm just saying, just keep it at 0% transparency or opacity, and then essentially auto reverse and then repeat, okay? Now the start time on the box back is different to the box front. Same transition effects are being used, but just at the times where the box front has already become transparent, or it's transitioning from fully visible to invisible, okay? The timing is set up in the complete opposite manner for the box back. So as one is fading out, this one's fading in, all right? So that's all that's happening here. It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I thought it was kind of a cool effect, so I thought I would include it. I thought that was a good example of using opacity. And then the media that's pulsing away down here is similar to the effect that we used on the title. All I'm doing here is growing 100% to 115% for this amount of time on the width and the height. And then resetting. All right. And then this is on a repeat as well. Now this was for the default view, okay, and then I set one up for CD-based systems. So as you can see, the media is shooting in from the right-hand side to the left-hand side. The CD jolts a little bit and then spins up slowly and then goes into full rotation. Okay, I basically took this configuration and pasted it against all the systems that utilize CD as their media. So I copied against PS2, for example. Sorry, I pasted it against PS2, PS1. All right. Let's see if I have media for these things. Yep, I do. And then there was a third variant, and that was for non-CD based and non-arcade type configurations. So it takes the media and simply rocks it. So it will come in, it will scroll in, or yeah, it will move in from the right to the left, but instead of rotating, once it's rested, it will just rock back and forth. Yep. So it rotates in while it's traveling from the right to the left, but once it comes to rest, then it just simply rocks. And I've taken that configuration and I've pasted it against all essentially cartridge based or non-CD based. So against all the known cartridge based systems here that you see, and then Commodore 64, Commodore Amiga, those are disc based. I mean 3.5-inch disc based, or 5 1/4 depending, or even Commodore 64 for example uses tape, or it could be 5 1/4 disc. So depending on those images within that platform, it'll just rock back and forth. It doesn't make any sense to kind of make that media kind of rotate as if it was a CD. So that's why I wanted to have a different configuration for those systems. And then the ones I've left blank, as you can see, there's no preference or configuration icon next to them. Because they don't have specifics, they will use the default. So for example, if I click on arcade up here, and I don't know if I've got metadata, probably not. But essentially what it will do is just simply, if there was some media image for arcade, it would use this default configuration and it would just simply pulse. Let's see, what other one was there? Capcom Play System. Yeah, there you go. So that will just pulse every once in a while. So these ones, they don't have custom configuration. They'll default to the top one here. So I've got 3 variants: platform specific, CD based, platform specific, non-CD based, and then basically a catch-all which will just pulsate like so. All right. So I'll publish. And it's going to take a bit of extra time because it's got these extra views to generate the platform specific. Now if I just close the theme creator and fire up BigBox, okay, we're in. Let's see, we'll go straight into 32x. Okay, there you go. Cartridge rotates, travels, and then comes to rest and just simply rocks back and forth. We'll do that again with a different title. And the title's coming in and making a bold entrance. The box front and box back transition in the bottom right is still just independently working there. And meanwhile, this little ball is just moving around the screen. Alright, so that's a cartridge-based one. Let's go into a CD-based. There you go. CD came in from the right, came to rest with a bit of a jolt, and then spins up slowly, and then full speed. I'll pick another CD-based one just to prove my point. And as you can see, as I'm hopping out, platform selection, select a different platform, come back in for the games, you can't see the time because my video is obscuring it, unfortunately, but you can see the date moving in from the left-hand side. Another cartridge-based system. Yeah, there you go. Let's pick a non-CD and non-cartridge. So CPS2. Yeah, there you go. So this was the catch-all that I was talking about. This is the default configuration now kicking in. Because it wouldn't make sense to rotate that particular object while it's at rest. So simply pulsating it the way I'm doing it here is good enough. Or you can always fade it out, fade it back in, you know, whatever you want to do. or not show it at all. But yeah, I'm trying to keep things kind of consistent in their look and feel, but change it up using animations. So at least there's still some life going on in the view itself, but it makes sense. And then of course that was a text-based view. So if I go in and view all games, and I just simply scroll through them. I mean, we've already gone through what, 3 different platforms here? What was this? PS1, Arcade, Windows, Arcade. Each with their different media types. And again, because we're viewing all games, by default it's going to use the default configuration. So it keeps the animation very simple. It's just doing a simple pulse of the media in the bottom left. Because again, it wouldn't make sense if I used the more complicated rotate the media in from right to left and then spin up when it's not a CD based game. So again, you want to try and use, you know, your animations, think about how, you know, they can be tied to a system, and then some subtle animations or animations that can be used generically. And that's what I've done here, just to, you know, kind of prove my point. Just curious actually in Justice 2, see if it has, if I have the box back media. And I don't. Okay, I was just curious. Project X, yeah, there you go. So yeah, so that's animation. And if I had not really gone into detail before, or I could have sworn I, a long time ago, had talked about how to create platform-specific configurations. That's how you can do it. You can take your default, apply it to one particular system for a particular reason, tweak it up, either different artwork, or in this case different animations that make sense to that particular system or media, and then propagate that configuration to other systems that utilize, you know, similar media. Therefore the animation is kind of shared. It looks a little bit more kind of consistent and best suited. But there you go. Yeah, I've just got a few more things to kind of clean up on the animation side in the animation editor, and fairly soon, maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll be sharing this particular version out on the forum. So yeah, like I said, I've just got a couple of additional tweaks to make, and then I've just got one last feature to work on after this one. But anyway, I hope you like what you see on the progress that I've made so far on the animation editor, and obviously the code being generated from that. Like I said, I had an awful lot going on that particular view. That's not necessarily what I would be up to if I were to build my own theme, but it was just to prove a point on what you can do relatively easily, and you know, some different neat effects that you can perform. But anyway, until the next video, I will hopefully finish off the animation functionality and put that build out. And of course, putting a build out, I will do a video and kind of walk through, maybe at a slower pace, or even if I hold a live session for question and answer. All right, but so whichever comes first, video or new build. Okay, but it's only a couple of weeks away. I can guarantee that. So anyway, again, Happy New Year, everyone, and I'll be reaching out to you in a couple of weeks. Take care.